Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome everyone attending today. This is the fourth webinar in a series promoting women in technology careers. And if you haven't already watched webinars on digital marketing, business analysts and software development from this week, we will be posting the links into the chat for you to view in your own time. My name is Julianne. I'm a Senior Account Manager here at Just IT, and I will be hosting the webinar. And alongside me, Nina, one of our senior resources, will be available to answer questions in the chat. And Leah, our marketing executive, will also be on hand. For those of you that are not familiar with Just IT, as a company, we deliver IT apprenticeship training, boot camps and recruitment. And today we are exploring the world of IT, a sector where women are underrepresented within the job market. The purpose of the webinar is to inspire you to think about a career route in IT support and networking. And on the call today, we have school leavers looking for their first career step and others who will be thinking about a potential career change. We aim to make this webinar of interest to you all. The format will include an opportunity to meet our expert panellists, all working in the field of IT, and we will explore boot camps and apprenticeships. There will be time for you throughout to ask questions. So if you have a question at any time during the webinar, please put them in the chat box provided. And if we cannot answer them during the session, we will send out answers along with the recording. And just for information, all attendees are on mute. Let me introduce you to the panel. First up, we have Nerissa, Head of Security Operations at Falanx Cyber Defense. We have Priyanka, a Senior Azure Customer Engineer at Microsoft, and Sharon, IT Service Desk Manager at Gatwick Airport. Later on in the webinar, you will meet Maggie, one of our senior business coaches here at Just IT, Destiny, a trainee service desk apprentice with Transputec, and Lizzie, who successfully completed an IT apprenticeship and has recently moved on to join TP ICAP, working as an end user support engineer. So get your questions into the channel for our panel to answer throughout the next hour. Right, over to our panel. Sharon, have you always wanted to work in IT?
Hiya. Do you know what? No, I absolutely had no idea that it was where I wanted to go. When I finished I went to university after doing my A-levels just to do something. Didn't know what I wanted to do. At one point, I thought I was going to be a lawyer. Then realised that was a lot of studying, so I backed out of that idea. Came back from university and started working for Wetherspoons and became a pub manager. So I was running a pub for 3.5 years, and it got to the point where I was 22 years old and I could have had my own pub, full landlord license, and I was like, that's too much responsibility for that age. So then I kind of knew my friend wanted to do some travelling, so I just took an office job, worked in customer services for a housing association. Worked there for 10 months, left to go traveling, came back and was temping for a little bit. Then I went traveling again and did like sort of more around Europe and stuff like that. And then I was like, okay, I need to keep a permanent job now. So I was lucky to be able to stay at the housing association in customer services. And I moved up into sort of customer services team leader, helping training people on the systems and everything. And then there was an opportunity to move into IT as a system administrator, which was basically owning the application that we used for reporting repairs that tenants were reporting in. So when they had plumbing issues, I'd manage that system. And then through that experience and exposure, I then moved into the IT service desk role, and have been doing that now for just over 15 years, I think. And it was only actually once I got that job that I really it really became passionate for me. And, you know, not just about customer service, but about building up team, developing them and all that sort of thing. So yeah, it definitely wasn't something I thought of way back when.
Thank you, Sharon, for that. And we will pick up on some of the points you mentioned, especially around your Gatwick Airport current experience. Nerissa, did you need a degree? What was your career path?
So hi everyone, I'm Nerissa. So just to give a brief introduction, so I'm 32 and I'm from Berkshire, but I'm currently living in Bedfordshire. And this September will sort of mark my 15-year anniversary working in IT. So really, Julianne, from a young age, I don't ever think I really knew what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to be, you know, what I deemed to be successful. So the main thing that really motivated me above all else was to really give my future children the life I never had growing up. So really for me, it was trying to find a career that would be stable enough to help me achieve my ambitions in life. So when I was younger, I think it was back in 2003, when I was 13, I was given a second-hand computer from my uncle. It was a Mac, which was the first computer I'd ever learned to use. And I believe it was in 2004 when we first got the internet. And that's when my sort of natural talents for tech really began. Quickly learning how to troubleshoot the router when it didn't work. I self-taught myself how to fix it, even down to the hardware. And then with the internet access that we had, I really became involved with website design, and I taught myself how to write in HTML. And personally, I knew that was something I enjoyed. And I'm sure many people can relate to this, but I then eventually, assumed the position of technical support for all of my family and friends, helping them set up computers, internet printers, TVs, all that sort of stuff. I did go to school and I completed my GCSEs in 2006, and I did my first year of A-levels in 2007, but I just really wasn't connecting with any of the subjects that I had chosen. I then went in search for a career change and found an IT apprenticeship program for people of my age, which is actually quite similar to what you guys at Just IT are offering. And I made quite a tough decision to drop out of sixth form to pursue my new career in IT. But I'm so glad that I did, because I found I was just so engaged with all of the content, wanting to learn more, wanting to do well. And I was very keen on developing myself. I then also learned about the potential earning power, yes, we should enjoy what we do, but essentially, you do need a job to fund your life. So I saw that people in the tech field, especially in the more senior positions, were earning a lot, and I knew how demand IT was for all industries. So really, that was the sort of catalyst that lit a fire under me, wanting me to do my utmost to succeed. And I knew IT would be how I could get to be where I wanted to be. So yeah, it wasn't until sort of the age of 17, 18 that I really knew what I wanted to do. And yeah, sort of built my career from there.
I think some of the messages you give about self-taught, and some of the examples you've given about setting up the routers, we'll definitely be coming back to, because I'm always thinking of ways that people can use those examples in a CV or interview to showcase their IT skills to employers. Nerissa's LinkedIn, along with all our other panelists' LinkedIn paths, are on the chat now, so anyone can see. If you want to go and have a little bit and connect to Nerissa, please go ahead and do so. Priyanka, can you give an overview of your journey to Microsoft, please?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Priyanka. I grew up in a really small town in southern India. As a kid, forget having a career in IT. Women didn't have careers, period. I didn't know any woman that worked in any industry. That's the kind of place I grew up. We never had more than $100, £100 a month. I think having £100 a month was a luxury, and we were a family of 4. So that was my roots. And luckily, I went to a good school. And I lost myself in reading. I used to love reading so much, and I'd read about all these wonderful places in England and the US, and literature became my favorite. And I actually wanted to study literature, but I knew, like Nerissa said, I wanted something that paid me well. One of the reasons I got into IT was for the money and for the ability to travel. For me, two of the most important reasons is the global mobility that this career provides. I've lived in California, I live now in England. And, when I was growing up, if somebody had told me, you'd go live in all these wonderful places, make all this money, I would never have believed it, because it was a dream that was so far fetched for me at that point. But this industry is so amazing right now. You can pretty much go any place you want to. And especially post-COVID, since we're all working from home, literally take your laptop, go to any part of the world, and you still make the money, and you still do what you want to do. And that's what I love about this industry. So actually a funny story is, in India, when a girl hits puberty, there's this huge event that happens. Like it's you basically call the entire family, extended family, your relatives. So my dad was so happy. I think it was just a way of telling people, like, my daughter is for marriageable age, right? But my dad was progressive. He didn't want me to be married at 13. But there was this whole embarrassing event where some of the boys from my school were there because of the free food, and I was just so embarrassed. And then my cousin came to me and he said, like, take this phone. There was this Nokia small phones that we used to get, like we used to call them brick phones. This is in the 90s. And he said, if you just text, for example, joke to 121, the number, SMS number 121, you'll get a joke back instantly. And if you type news and send to 121, you'll get news back instantly. So this was a pre-internet era, right? And it was magic. So that was like the precursor to internet. And I sat there the whole time during the event. I was on a stage with like ton of makeup on. I looked miserable. I was miserable, but I was holding this phone and I was sending joke to 121, getting back jokes. And I was just so amazed that you could sit in one corner of the world and have access to so many things without having to be in front of a TV or radio. And I think that was when I knew I wanted to understand how this thing worked, how this thing, like, a phone where you can sit in one corner of the world and do anything worked. So I gradually got into networking because for me, I did not enjoy coding. I did do my undergrad in computer science as a coder, but for me, developing an app is great, but how do you make that app accessible all around the world, right? For example, like Zoom is an app. Like how can we, sitting in some corner of the world, log in and talk to anybody in the world? How does that network work? And I was fascinated by the internet. So I pursued a course called CCNA, Cisco Certified Network Admin, which I highly recommend. There are more advanced courses now, but that's what I took when I was still in college because I wanted to pivot my career into networking. And then I started working for Cisco, which is like a networking giant, and that was a dream come true. And like I said, I've always wanted to travel. I wanted to earn more money, and this industry especially has a lot of money. And that's such a selling point for women, right? Like you have to have a career, you have to be financially independent as well to live life on your own terms. So I moved to California to work for a few companies there, and I did my master's along the way. And then I came here to England because I got greedy with traveling, and being here in London is amazing because like the entire world is at your doorstep. You can pretty much travel anywhere from here easily. And so yeah, travel and the financial independence is what led me to this industry. And I'm so glad I'm here. And I joined Microsoft a year ago, and I work as a senior Azure customer engineer. I think for anybody in the networking and infrastructure space, moving into the cloud is like a natural consequence of just how things are moving towards. And I was in a proper data center working with servers and routers like Nerissa, but gradually, because the whole industry is moving towards cloud, I now work for Azure, managing the customer experience for top Azure customers at Microsoft.
Oh, thank you so much for that, Priyanka. And it's really good to have somebody on with that focus on the networking side. I know Nerissa's also got that focus on the cyber security. So those elements, if anyone's got any questions thinking about those sectors that they want to move into, please get them into the chat box for the panelists to answer. Sharon, can I come back to you and talk about females at Gatwick Airport in your service desk team? How many females do you work alongside? Is it very much a male-dominated environment? And what have you been doing to try and encourage more females to join your team?
Yeah, so, IT is very male dominated. I was very lucky when I first joined the service desk, we actually had 2 female shift leads. That was fantastic. And then we got another one in. So at one point we had 3 in my team of 13 at that time. Since then, there's been a few changes, but currently I've got one of my analysts, Preeti, who she used to actually be a security officer at Gatwick. So she worked at Gatwick for 12 years, you know, she'd be the security that when you're checking your bags and you have to put it through the x-ray machines, she was doing that. Due to the pandemic, she unfortunately got made redundant, as did so many people, and she decided to retrain. So she did a thing called Career Switch, which is almost like an apprenticeship, but it's really condensed down. So you kind of do it in 9 months to a year. You go through all the theory and everything, and then she was working on a small service desk. And when we had an opportunity to recruit for a new service desk analyst, she applied, and I just was like, if I can get her back in, that would be fantastic. And you know, she's just passed her probation, so she joined us in December, and we passed her probation 1 month early because she's just done fantastically, and she's really pushing herself to sort of succeed. And because she really wanted to come back to Gatwick, she loved Gatwick, really didn't want to leave, and it's a really good success story. And I've also got another shift lead, Michelle, who's going to be joining me in June. We just wait for her to finish her notice period, so I'm slowly getting it back. And it's really hard, and I think, you know, I think apprenticeships are a great way for women to get that opportunity to join IT, because, you know, I don't think there's a lot that's said about schools. You know, we don't know about all the different jobs that are out there. You know, you hear about lawyers and doctors and all that kind of stuff, but in terms of IT, I think schools tend to focus on, it's just someone sat at a computer. And then you hear about like Priyanka's story and Nerissa's story, and there's just so much more out there in IT. And yeah, we're just really trying to push that through. I'm trying to get an IT apprenticeship approved for next year for Gatwick, which will be a fantastic opportunity as well. But yeah, we're just really trying to get that back in place. And I'm really, you know, we've got our head of ops, head of cybersecurity is female. She used to be my shift lead and then was my major incident manager. And then last year she was successful in becoming the cyber ops manager at Gatwick. So that's really good. And we are slowly trying to, you know, just really bring that back in and get more women in IT, because, you know, it's something that we can do.
I love that example of the career switch story, and it just shows that for any females that are on this call at the moment, it doesn't matter what age you're in, but you can switch careers at any time in your life into the IT sector.
100%.
Thank you. Nerissa, I keep hearing the word service desk and first and second line support coming up. Can you just describe briefly what they all are, please, to people? And we've also got some school leavers on the call today as well who might not know some of those technical terms.
Yeah, of course. So that's actually where I started my career, was first line technical analyst, and I, you know, built my career up from a first line analyst, second line to third line, then moved on to more team leader sort of roles, went down the management route, to a manager, to obviously where I am now. But yeah, so those sorts of roles are basically your first line of support to a company. So companies will either have what's known as an internal IT support or an external IT support, which another company will provide. And really, you would be working on a service desk, you know, taking incoming calls from people that might need support with their IT equipment or IT systems or IT software. And even mobile devices as well, or network systems like Wi-Fi, internet, etc. All of that stuff. So service desks are really there to provide that first level of support to the user. And really, what First Line will try and do is implement sort of basic fixes, quick fixes where they can. If there's something that they can't deal with, they'll then pass that over to, or escalate that issue, should I say, up to a second line team, who will then investigate deeper. They'll have a bit more time to look thoroughly through the issues. And if, again, they can't, then they'll pass that over to a third line team. And what you normally see in companies is third line teams might have specialisms in certain areas. So you might have multiple third line teams, one specializing in more of the networking side, one specializing more of the server side, you know, Microsoft, that sort of stuff. Maybe developers could be in that sort of third line space. You know, you might have sort of application support specifically for big systems that companies are using, or even a security team as well. So yeah, I hope that explains it in a bit more detail for people on the call.
Well, thank you for clarifying that. That's really helpful. And I'm just picking up on the technical skills that people are doing in their day-to-day job. But this, when you're talking about those roles, you mention about telephone calls, about emails, and one of the chat messages that's just come in is about what key non-technical skills do you need to start a career in IT? Just thinking about that, is there anything there you say that is really key?
I would say that there's a lot of transferable skills that come into IT. You know, so you might not be technical, and actually, when I'm looking to hire somebody, for me, it's far easier to train on the technical side than it is some of the soft skills that people might have. So customer service is a big one. You know, because when you're working on a service desk, it is about providing that service to your internal users or your external customer base. So you've really got to be good with, you know, just being very helpful and very sort of on top of customer requests or user requests. I would also say communication, you know, sort of very strong, both written and verbal skills are good. And if you're working as part of a team, it's great to have team you know, sort of team working skills as well. And some other things that could help individuals are things like project management, potentially, the ability to analyze data for reporting, but yeah, for really those key skills, I would say customer service, communication, and team working.
Thank you, Nerissa. And Sharon echoes that in the chat as well, with customer service, empathy, and communication. I mean, for anyone out there that's looking at a role, you know, coming out of school actually, and they're just starting to build their CV up, what I'd say is it doesn't matter whether you've got, you know, a paper round, or, you know, you're doing some waitressing or anything like that. They're all important roles to put on your CV, because you're showcasing those extra additional soft skills that are so important to roles on the service desk that will get you a foot in the door.
Can I just add to that, Julianne? Sorry. I know,
thank you.
Sorry, one of the things thinking about specifically school leavers where they may not have work experience, I think if they can highlight things like, it could be something as lacking in importance as they think it might be, but they've played for a football team, or they've done some voluntary work. So it's those above and beyond things where, and I know when I used to work in FE, I always used to say, well, playing in a football team is teamwork, it's communication skills, it's showing commitment, it's showing drive, dedication. So I think it's for, especially for younger people that might not have previous work experience to pull on, it's to think about potentially what they see as a hobby and what they can draw out of that as well. Spot on,
Maggie, spot on. Thank you for that.
Okay.
Priyanka, how can we change the perception of IT support roles for women?
I think IT in general is a great place for women to be, and every time I go to these schools where I volunteer and talk about careers in IT, I think a lot of girls are skeptical because they think you need to be very good at maths, or you know, it's only a place for men. Like typically anything science related, or as soon as you, like you said, you know, if it's an engineer, we tend to shy away. I think that's just because we see ourselves more you know, like Sharon and Nerissa said, we are great at soft skills like communication, empathy, and all of these. And we think these skills are drive us towards certain careers, but they don't. You know, these skills are very much essential in IT as well. These are the skills that these days, the soft skills are what make you like climb up the ladder. It's technical skills are great, but I think these customer communication skills, having empathy, being a good speaker, being able to communicate well, being a team player, this is what will get us far, even in IT, and more so in IT, because this industry has been dominated by men for so long. I think as soon as, even though we are only like 15% of women in this industry, I think we've made a huge impact on how teams work and how we interact with each other, how this industry is looking. And I can see that at Microsoft right now, because though we're only 3 women in a team of like 35 people, we make the team more fun, more interactive, more communicative. Otherwise, men just get on a call and say, hey, what's up? What are we doing today? This, and then go off. Whereas the 3 of us sit there and go, hey, how was your day going? Did you have your coffee? Did you have your tea? And that fosters the team culture. And men have started saying they feel more of that team culture now with women on the team than they have ever felt. So I think these are the skills that are so important in IT these days as well. I think especially in IT support, you're the person that's talking to most of the times to a customer who's unhappy or who's you're trying to solve their problem, right? We are very good at managing that particular scenario because that's what we are. Like naturally, I think we're good at managing confrontation, managing situations that escalate, and it comes very naturally to us. I think, in my opinion, I think support is something women do far better than men do. Yes, technical skills are needed, but that's not always the case. For example, in my current role, like Nerissa was explaining, there are different lines of support. And I come in at the 3rd line of support, maybe. So there are first couple of support engineers on the call trying to figure out the technical issues. When I jump on the call, my job is to make sure everybody is calm, make sure that we're communicating well, make sure that the focus is still on the solving the problem and not just in small things. I don't do technical work at all right now as a senior customer engineer. My work is mostly about soft skills and getting things done. And as women, we are great at getting things done. I think, which is why I say, like, support is not just about figuring out the technical problem. It's about solving the problem, making sure we are going in the right direction. And I think we are intuitively good in that, which is why I think it's a great place for women to progress and be a part of.
Thank you, Priyanka. I'm just picking up on that direction forward. Sharon, in terms of the career, is it a case that you should specialize straight away in IT, or do you think you should open yourself up to all pathways and then specialize in cyber, for example, or networking? What would you advise?
So for me, I mean, yeah, you don't need to worry so much about specific areas. You quite often will find that further down the line. I think, for me, I didn't know that I wanted to do service desk until much later on in life. I think if you want to get into some version of IT support, going down the service desk route as your first point of call is a really good way of doing it. And, doing things like the IT apprenticeship that you guys offer is a great way to get into that position, because the service desk can cover so many different areas. So, for example, the service desk at Gatwick Airport, we actually have we kind of dip our toes into cybersecurity, networking, infrastructure, application support, all of that kind of stuff. There are so many different avenues you can go down in IT that you don't need to know everything. And I think service desk gives you that customer service experience. All of that kind of stuff. I know that cybersecurity, there's a lot more that you can go straight into after school. And again, they do cybersecurity apprenticeships, which are great. So if you definitely know that you want to do cyber, I would say that you can go directly down that route. And I think a lot of the apprenticeships that they do nowadays for IT, you do have a bit of networking involvement as well. And I think just you start off with the service desk, but with that networking element, and then after you've done that apprenticeship, you could then go on to the network engineer route, or you can go down the service desk route, all of that kind of stuff. And then also people then work out, because really in IT, you then have a technical route or a manager route. So, in the Gatwick setup, you've got analysts. So I've got 2 analysts that became shift leads at the beginning of the year. So they worked hard. They were analysts for a few years at Gatwick. And they're now team leads effectively. And what that means is that because we are 24/7 out of hours, they're basically running the IT operation for Gatwick Airport, which is phenomenal, and these guys are young, some of them are in their mid to late 20s. It's not about how much experience you've got in a way. It's about, you've got to have some experience, obviously, to progress that way. But that's where, for me, I don't know if Priyanka and Nerissa have got similar thoughts, but service desk is a great foothold to get in the door for IT and help point people in what they want to then go into.
I'm just seeing some links coming through as well on courses. So Destiny and Priyanka have all mentioned, and Maggie have mentioned about different links to help start your career off with training courses. So it's really fascinating to listen to you all speak about your different career pathways, and I think we'll come back to you to talk further in more detail at the end if we get time. But I just wanted to spend a little time talking about focusing on apprenticeships and the boot camp route as well, because they're a great way to start your career. Boot camps are a free initiative designed by government to help boost skills in this industry. Completing a boot camp will prepare you for a career in IT support, and it's a different route to an apprenticeship. You spend 12 weeks learning key technical skills, and you get to complete some great qualifications, including CompTIA Plus and Windows 10 qualifications along the way. So we'll put that link to the boot camp's information in the chat box now so you can see it. There are eligibility requirements around it, and you do need to be 19 to sign up, but have a look at that as a route forward, because it might be of interest, and we can certainly support people and take you through in a little bit more detail of the content that you would learn. On the apprenticeships front, to undertake an apprenticeship, you need to be in an apprenticeship job, and you can find a list of apprenticeship jobs on gov.uk. We'll put this link into the chat for you also. The gov jobs on here enable you to search by location, so you can search for an apprenticeship that's near to your home. And they're open for anyone aged 16 and over. So we do have school leavers that apply for apprenticeships, and equally have people that have switched careers or finished university that go on to apprenticeships. I think the most important thing to note is that you can complete an apprenticeship at any time in your career life. Here at Just IT, we deliver IT apprenticeship training, and I thought it might be helpful if we gave you a brief overview about what that looks like. So over to you, Maggie, if you could introduce that.
I will do. So this is the framework that we use as a guideline for our apprentices at Just IT. It covers the ICT Level 3 programme. Anybody that was interested in it might be pleased to know there are no exams in this pathway. But what we do is give you the 20 days of training, so formal training sessions that cover things like networking, and I've heard a few of these things mentioned today, some cloud basic IT knowledge, so about hardware, about how to troubleshoot and fix hardware. So we've got cloud services and maintaining systems. We also cover networking and cyber security, a little bit of coding and scripting. I must point out, it isn't coding as in Java. It's using things like Linux and PowerShell. So all of the actual modules that you cover give you the fundamentals. And I know somebody was just saying then about choosing a direction to go into, so you get different flavors as you go through it, and that builds the knowledge in order to then build your portfolio of evidence towards your endpoint assessment. It says in the very bottom right hand corner there that as part of the apprenticeship programme, you gain entry to the RITEC Register of IT Professionals. You also get and you can also become an associate of the BCS, which is the exam board as well. All really good things to put on your LinkedIn profile, and good knowledge and experience to take into another workplace if that's the way you like to go.
Thank you, Maggie.
You're welcome.
Right, time to get interactive. On your screens now, you should have the following question. What are the barriers for yourself in starting a career in IT? Can we put up the options, please? So we should have lack of mentors, unequal pay for the same skills, lack of sector knowledge, perception it is a male-dominated sector, experience, or other. And you can specify in the chat box, please. So we'll just leave that open on screen. Right. Okay, just going to give you a little bit of time to maybe write anything or click on multiple options. Right, let's close the poll. Or let's just give you a little bit longer as it's just come up on my screen. Let's give it a few more seconds. All right, it's a start to come through. Okay. That's technology for you. All right, starting to see experience is coming up higher. All right, let's just wait for a few more to come through. Again, if anyone's got any specifics they want to add to this, please add in the chat box as well. Okay, let's close this for the moment. So we'll close 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, close. There we go. So experience is coming up tops, followed by the lack of sector knowledge and lack of mentors. And then just below, we've got male dominated sector and unequal pay. Interesting about experience then. So I think we can tackle that with some of the questions that come later with the panel then, around what it is that you need from the experience to get that moving forward, and how can you get experience. All right, if we can stop sharing the poll, we're going to move on because I want to go in and bring in Destiny and Lizzie now. So Destiny completed her apprenticeship. Well, she started it 2 months ago, actually, with a fascinating career path. Can you give us an overview of your journey, please, Destiny?
Yeah, so I left school in 2019 and I went to uni for 2 years to be a student midwife. And I loved midwifery, but I just thought it was too stressful and I just wanted to do something different. And then I did the short course in a cybersecurity course, actually, and I just really enjoyed it. I wanted to continue and I applied for apprenticeships and I was put with Transputec and I've been really enjoying it so far.
And Lizzie, congratulations on your new role. Can you tell us a bit more about your background into IT?
Yes, thank you very much for that. So I studied games development in level 3 college. And then afterwards, I was looking to do an apprenticeship, and Just IT had assisted me on that journey. And I did a level 3 IT support apprenticeship at CMC Markets. And from there, really, they kept me on to be a junior support engineer. And then I decided to branch out, and now I'm working for a company called ICAP, which is in the similar industry, financial markets.
Both of you have the apprenticeship experience. Where do you see your careers going forward? And have you started to think about specialising in a particular area? Lizzie, what do you think?
I'd like to get into cybersecurity. I'm interested into the security side of things, so that'd be a nice place to branch into.
And Destiny, I know it's early days with you, but have you seen elements of the role that you think, oh, actually, I really like that. I could see myself going down that route in the future?
Well, I'm keeping my options open, but cybersecurity, networking, they're really interesting. So probably something to do with that. But yeah, just seeing how it goes. There's so many options, so I'm not trying to limit myself.
Lizzie, what would your top tips be for somebody following in your footsteps, just maybe started to look at careers? Maybe they've just left college or university or college or school. Where would you say they should go, and what should they do?
So the same for me. I would say go onto the Just IT website, and that's how I started off my career with you guys. So you were a good support in getting me to where I am today. So I'd say that's my top tip. And other top tips are to just go online and just research for apprenticeships. And you can always find your way to get in there. Just be confident and show your interests, because with my experience getting into my first job with CMC Markets, they saw that I had little to almost no really IT experience, apart from just being in the games development side of things, but that's sort of related to games, and done a little bit on business and analytics and things like that. But they mainly took me on upon my interpersonal skills. So I think that's a really valuable skill. So upskill yourself in that region before as well.
And Destiny, when you started your role, what was the interview process like for you? Was it quite technical?
No, it wasn't technical at all. It was just kind of getting the idea of like the type of character that you have, like how you'll fit in with the company. They understand that you're new to it, you're a beginner, so they don't expect you to have all this knowledge or to have worked in the sector. You know, they know that they're training you.
What advice would you give? Have you got 3 top tips that you would give to people following your footsteps?
I think for me, I would say don't doubt yourself. Don't think, oh, I might not have the skills for that. Just go for it and see what happens. Yeah, like you never get the things you don't apply for. So, you know, just go for it.
Thank you. I mean, looking at some of the other panelists now, obviously we've got Nerissa and Sharon, who have both come up in similar sort of way. So I honestly could see you moving forward in that way. You know, we'll be watching out for you in a few years' time as you progress from your apprenticeship forward. Priyanka, just bringing you back in, there's so many messages in the chat about how inspiring you are. Is there any message that you'd like to say to the apprentices here, to Lizzie and to Destiny?
I think I'd just echo what Destiny just said. You know, I think I hear this so many times that the only person that's standing between you and the person you want to be or the job that you have is you. There's nobody else. I think I was like that, you know, I always held back on applying for that dream job, or I would checklist the entire job description to make sure I met that 90% or 100% of required qualifications. But then I realized people writing the job descriptions are not the ones hiring. So it's not, they're so unrelated, and don't ever think like you're not fit for a job just because you don't have the experience. I think if you knew everything you were going to do in a job, then what's the fun of doing it, right? There's a lot of learning that happens on the job. There's a lot of the learning curve initially when you join any job should be immense, otherwise it's not really challenging. So don't hold yourself back. I think whatever you want, just go for it. Yes, as women, it's difficult sometimes to take no as an answer, but we'll get used to it. I think we have to get used to it in order to move forward in anything in life generally. So don't take if you do get 2 or 3 rejects, who cares? Like just keep applying. And you know, for my first job, I remember I applied for 120 companies when I was in the US, because and out of that, I think I probably got 80 rejects, and you know, out of the other 20, a lot of them didn't get back. I only got back like 5 calls, and out of the 5, getting a call is the main thing, and out of the 5 I had 3 jobs in hand. So if I looked at the number of rejects I had, I think I would be so demotivated I probably would never apply for another job again. So don't worry about any of that. If you see a job you like, just apply for it. That's the only way you'll know.
Wise words, Priyanka. Thank you. And Nerissa, just popping back to you in terms of cybersecurity, we haven't really touched on that pathway, but if anyone's on the chat now interested in that as a route forward, what would be the best way for them to get involved in it? And can you just explain a little bit more about cybersecurity and the types of tasks that someone would be doing?
Yeah, sure. So it's very sort of similar to what you might get on a service desk, and you will have those same levels, the first, second, third line. Within cybersecurity, I would say a good place to start would be the CompTIA qualifications. So you've got the A+, the Network Plus, and that can then eventually lead you onto the Security Plus side. Again, it's just showing, I think, just to echo what some of the other panelists have said, it's, you know, showing an interest within that outside of work. You know, like, what are you doing outside? Are you doing training courses? You know, have you spun up some labs maybe? I think the things or the key skills that people could really sort of train on or get more knowledge on to get into cybersecurity would be like programming languages such as Python, Understanding that, I think you do need a good level of networking skills. There are some courses out there that can be done alongside the Security Plus. There are also degrees that have come out that are more related to the cybersecurity space or the digital forensics and incident response space as well. And yeah, I'll just really get people to really research and learn. And I think, you know, from our perspective, you know, we've just hired somebody who you know, has come from a regular IT support first line background. So they don't have any cyber experience, but they have shown a keen passion and interest for all things cyber sort of within their spare time. And they've been able to demonstrate that within the interview. And, you know, because they were, as I mentioned before, you know, they had great customer service skills, you know, interpersonal, all that good stuff. You know, they came across as confident, and, you know, they showed that willing and want to learn more and to do more, and for those reasons, you know, we actually hired that person, and, you know, we're happy to train that person up within the role. And from my perspective as well, you know, I went down the more, Sharon mentioned there's two routes that you can really go down in within IT, and that's the management route or the more technical side. Obviously, I chose the management side. And having come from that, I have never worked in cybersecurity before. I don't have much experience or exposure into it, but because I am quite an expert within the service delivery field, like those were the skills that they were looking for within this role. And they said, you know, don't worry, we can teach you about the cybersecurity stuff later. So, you know, I'm sort of a prime example of that. But yeah, I hope that sort of helps guide people into that sort of space.
It does, thank you so much. And actually, you mentioned about the CompTIA qualification, and just to reiterate, the CompTIA qualification is part of our bootcamp program. So if you are looking at a cybersecurity pathway, take a look at our information on the bootcamp, because that might be a way of forwarding that career path forward. With the CompTIA is thrown in as well for you. And CompTIA has been mentioned quite a lot today, actually, on the call. I think all the panelists here are advocating CompTIA as a way forward. Sharon, how do you see the IT support sectors developing in the next 5 years, and where do you think the job opportunities will be for women going forward?
Oh, that's a big question. Do you know what I mean? You know, I think more and more companies are really trying to tackle this whole sort of not enough women in IT, not enough women in leadership, all of that kind of stuff. I know certainly Gatwick, we're really trying to do our bit now. It is really hard. I think as well, I think unfortunately a lot of us have that lack of confidence that you know, gives us that ability to push ourselves forward. I think a lot of it comes from whether you get good management, good sort of mentorship and support as you start off. I mean, I was just thinking back about, you know, when I first went for a job interview, I was absolutely bricking it. And, you know, just remember being so nervous and sweating heavily and just being like, oh, I don't even know if I want this job. I don't know if this is the one I want. It's just a job I don't understand. I think there's going to be a lot more jobs opening up for people with IT. I think apprenticeships, for me, I just think are just such a win-win, because I think, especially if you're coming straight out of school, and, you know, look at the university costs now is through the roof, and, you know, university is absolutely, for certain career paths, are the way to go. But I think for IT, I would say look for apprenticeships, because you get a good salary, you get work experience where, you know, you're going to get that training and level of support and guidance, and you get the qualifications at the end of it. And then you could do an IT apprenticeship and then go, actually, I don't want to do IT anymore. But then hiring managers will look at it and go, but you've successfully done that, and you've successfully, you know, worked your way through that, and they will take that on board. And I think, I think a lot of it as well for women in IT in particular, I think a lot of it is almost educating people in how to talk, because, you know, we have a lot of it. We're really tackling it at the minute, where you have someone in a meeting will say, oh, we need more manpower, and it's like, no, you don't need manpower, you need resources, you need you need bodies. You don't need, it doesn't matter whether it's a man or a woman. And it is about being equal. You know, it's about not just saying we want to push women forward. It's about offering it to everyone, and that's why I think apprenticeships, I think more and more, I think apprenticeships are going to be the starting point for IT careers going forward, and that's going to help move people along. I hope that answered the question. It may not have done. Apologies if it doesn't.
That does answer the question, thank you. And then just to an apprentice, well, former apprentice, Lizzie, what are the favourite parts of your role?
I would say communicating with all different teams, all types of users. So you get that interaction. So I like interacting with other people. It brings up my confidence, and also again learning the technical side on the other side as well.
And Destiny, for you, what's the favourite part of your you know, your day-to-day? Anything particular that stands out?
I think it's just like seeing new things and like getting that bit of excitement when you've like figured out a problem, and just like being able to say write things or figure out problems that, you know, in the past you would have had no idea. Just seeing that you've progressed. Yeah.
Thank you, Destiny. And to Nerissa, a sort of final question. What message would you give to those on the call today to inspire them to move forward with a career in IT?
I guess I would say, you know, not to feel daunted or afraid by how much ground IT covers. You know, I think there's many different streams of IT, and once you're in IT, you will soon find your like niche and what you're most passionate about, and you can really tailor and build and develop your career to suit your interests, which is why it's such a great field and industry to be in. And yeah, I would sort of say that, you know, IT is such a versatile sector to be in, and the only limits I would say is somebody's mindset. But I think, you know, with how much technology impacts all of our daily lives, you know, it's so great to be able to be a part of that, and to really be able to go into companies and sort of influence and shape and mold, you know, the services that they're delivering, and, you know, to really have that long-lasting impact for that. And, you know, you can really sort of contribute to new innovative ways of working, and, you know, I've done a lot of that myself, you know, sort of implementing new technologies, you know, continually improving the service, and you know, really it just gives you like a really good sense of fulfillment, I found. So yeah, I think you can be quite creative within these roles as well, which is good.
I'm just going back to a question from Josie to Destiny, which I just wanted to make sure that we'd actually answered. Destiny, when you wanted to change from midwifery to IT, did you just Google new opportunities? Did you use the Gov website?
So I was just like searching for a couple months, not actually a couple months, actually just like about a month. And I found a boot camp similar to what's being offered. And it was really good. Yeah. I actually didn't know I wanted to be an apprentice. I just knew I wanted to train, and that was like my first step. And obviously coming from a completely different sector, I just wanted that first step, and the boot camp was a good first step for me.
Thank you, Destiny. And so the answer, Josie, is go for it. Have a look at gov.uk, but also use Google. But we are sending out a survey after this call today where we'll be capturing any pathways that anyone on the call wants to move forward with. So we can send you some targeted advice, career support to help you move forward with your career. And Priyanka, just on the back of the survey that we did, experience was one of the areas that came out in the highest, you know, the highest on that survey just now in terms of lack of experience. Final words from you in terms of how someone can try and gain that experience.
I think before in a world of the internet, there was just set routes to gain that knowledge, right? You had to go to college or you had to read books and stuff. But now with the internet, there's just so many resources available to us. I would, just to learn maybe what the industry is about, I would say taking one of these courses that all of you have been talking about, CompTIA, or these are great because you get to learn and you get to have some hands-on experience. That's what I did. I took a course. This was I don't know, 15 years ago. CCNA was the big thing back then, and that course was what sort of propelled me into. I did not have any work experience at that point. It was just a certification, and it holds a lot of value. I think especially in the UK, apprenticeships are great. You don't need experience to be an apprentice. I work with a lot of apprentices in Microsoft, and I know a lot of interns in Microsoft who've studied completely different things, who have no idea about IT, but they've just applied and they did well at the interviews, and they showed that true passion to be in the IT industry. And they've been paired with different teams within Microsoft to try and put them on that journey, to just let them know like what IT is about, what they can expect, and they absolutely love it. I think trainings or courses or apprenticeships like this are a great way to get into this industry. And if you're already midway, like mid-career in another sector, and you want to make that career switch, like I said, again, there's just so many resources. I'll send some links on to Julie, and you can share them, and just to get an idea of what the jobs are like, what kind of things we do. And like Nerissa said, this is such a wide industry. There's just so many roles, and I keep telling everybody, like, we all have a place in this industry, regardless of your background. I think we all have a place. And I would say, just to get your confidence up, maybe do a few courses, train yourself to be just a little aware of what happens in this industry, and just go for it.
Thank you so much, Priyanka, and to all of our panelists, because you've all been so inspiring. There's so much we've learned today. Thank you, because we've just seen just how many opportunities there are out there in IT, and some really great careers for those wishing to follow in that particular path. I just want to thank Sharon, Priyanka, Nerissa, Lizzie and Destiny for giving up their time today and providing us with their career examples. Hopefully it will shape the direction of everyone's careers on the audience today. And thank you to everyone in the audience for joining, and I hope the webinar has been of benefit. We will send a recording to you so you can watch it again, or send it on to anyone that you think would be interested, and we will be responding to any questions that have been in the chat box unanswered. We'll get them answers to you and make contact by email later today. Thank you again for attending, and we hope to see you tomorrow at our data analyst webinar. Thank you.